when we become experts, we forget to ask questions. And there's this thing called the 10,000 hour rule. Anybody heard of it before? Yes, I can see now we got some hands going up. The 10,000 hour rule, I did not come up with this. I certainly got to give credit where credit is due. The 10,000 hour rule is from Malcolm Gladwell in his book, Outliers. Now, he says that practice isn't the thing you do once you're good. It's the thing you do that makes you good. And I believe everybody's an expert at something, no matter where they are in their career or their life journey. Maybe it's yourself, maybe it's the work you do, maybe it's parenting. By the way, if there are any parenting experts in the room, I want to talk afterwards. Or maybe you're too humble to admit that you're an expert. But if you've done something for long enough, 10,000 hours, as he says, well, then you are an expert at something. Maybe it's just your life. Here's a common example he uses that I'm going to overly summarize for you. Has anybody ever heard of the Beatles? This is a generational question. Who likes the Beatles? Who knows the music? And who's Googling them right now? Generally speaking, everybody knows who the Beatles are. And the Beatles actually played over 1,200 shows before they made it big and they became an international sensation. 1,200 mistakes, 1,200 opportunities to try again, 1,200 shows at little pubs and places down the street in small towns across the UK before they made it big. It wasn't an overnight sensation, and they weren't expert musicians. And they kept going. Maybe too long. But their music still plays today because they became experts at what they do. But I have a little caveat to this 10,000 hour rule. And I think it's really important to recognize that, because the question I always ask is, what happens after you become an expert? What happens after you have 20 years of experience in your role? What happens after you've done this for so long that nothing surprises you? Well, I believe that what happens next is called the paradox of expertise. And here's the thing, I thought I came up with this. I thought, wow, I'm so fancy. I came up with my own term, the paradox of expertise. It turns out someone else has done research on this at the University of Cambridge. And the paradox of expertise, they call this very big, long word that I'm going to say to you and not expect you to remember. You're welcome to take a picture. Researchers at the University of Cambridge call this paradoxical functional degradation. Say that 3 times fast. Yeah, it's long. So in other words, what they are telling us is, my clicker isn't working. The brain becomes so efficient that it tunes out what it deems irrelevant. Now, I'm going to say that again because I know it's early and I'm giving you science. But the brain becomes so efficient, because you are an expert, the brain becomes so efficient that it stops noticing what it deems irrelevant. Is there a chance that you've stopped noticing things you don't see as relevant? I like to call those blind spots. And this morning I want you to shift. I want all of us, I want the whole room to shift from knowing the answer to noticing. And ask yourself, what would it look like in my leadership if I shifted from knowing to noticing? I asked you earlier to notice your neighbor, and it sounded a little creepy. But I promise you it's not. It lets your guard down, and it shifts the conversation. So this morning, you're going to do that. You're going to walk out of here, and you're going to start noticing things about everyone around you. And you're not going to feel the pressure to have to know all the answers.